Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday out there. Hope we're all having a wonderful start to the week. And we've got a lot to talk about in today's video, from cool down and drier air for some folks, severe weather and flooding for others, all of that followed by what looks to be a very impressive August heat wave. And while we're worrying about all that, we've got the Atlantic to put our eyes on, with the chance of some tropical development over the next couple of weeks to end out August. So a very active period ahead and a very busy period for a lot of folks. Now, I am going to ask you here to definitely consider subscribing and liking the video, as it's a great way to help out the channel and also a great way to continue to stay informed. If you subscribe, you're more likely to see my videos in your feed. So definitely consider doing that, as it really does help me and helps the channel out as well. Now, with that said, not going to do any more self-advertising here, as I'm sure you are all very busy people, as well am I. So let's go ahead and jump into this forecast. So again, a lot going on out there. So we're definitely going to break it all down, and we're going to do that by starting out at home here with satellite imagery. So we have a very impressive low pressure system and cold front for this time of the year spinning away over Iowa right now. You can see that front very well defined here on satellite, with much drier air funneling in behind that. And unfortunately, in front of that, we're seeing the heat and storms building up. So very impressive storms, going on in North Carolina right now, into Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, also seeing those very strong storms. And now the good news is eventually this storm system will move off to the east, and behind that we'll have much drier air and a bit of cooler temperature. So definitely going to have some good news with that here in the short term. Now, the not so good news is what we're seeing out in the Atlantic right now. We have one area to watch here, another area behind that, and going into the future, we could have a third and fourth area to worry about here in the Atlantic. So again, a very active pattern in the tropics setting up here as we go out through the rest of August, and we will discuss that a lot more here as we go later on in the video. Now, taking a look at radar imagery, including watches and warnings out there. Again, low pressure centered over Iowa right now. So as you would expect, in front of that and kind of south of this warm front here, we're seeing a lot of storms fire off, some of which are becoming strong to severe and will continue to do so this afternoon and evening. Now, north of there, it's more of just some good old-fashioned rain for places in Wisconsin and Michigan. And we could also see some flooding out of this. So we do have some flood watches up for the I-95 corridor from D.C. up through New York and even south of Boston there. And I also wouldn't be surprised to see some flooding into the southern Appalachians overnight tonight and into tomorrow, as we get some training of storms. Now, the other big story, of course, is the heat, and I'm sure you out there here in the south from the Carolinas back towards Texas are feeling it. And of course, definitely let me know in the comments what kind of temperatures you're seeing out there and how you're staying hydrated, as of course that is very important this time of year. All right, so shifting on over towards the severe weather, again today we have a slight risk from eastern Tennessee all the way up towards Philadelphia and back towards Raleigh for the chance of some strong damaging straight line winds, as well as a couple isolated tornadoes. Now, as we go into tomorrow, that threat will shift off to the east from kind of the I-95 corridor from Boston all the way down towards the Mobile, Alabama area, and in between having the greatest chance of that from kind of Raleigh and Rocky Mount, North Carolina, up through the Delmarva, having the greatest chance, again, of seeing those strong damaging winds tomorrow, although, again, can't rule out a brief isolated tornado. Now, that storm system will move through by the time we hit Wednesday, but we have another system behind it that could bring severe weather starting for our Wednesday up here through much of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and that could have more of a tornado threat, as we often see this time of year up there. But of course, also hail and strong straight line winds will be a concern. All right, so running you through radar imagery here over the next couple of days to get you through kind of the start of this week. Again, right now we're seeing pretty widespread storms here from the Virginias down through the Carolinas. Those are becoming strong to severe. Now, again, north of there up through Chicago, Wisconsin, Michigan, looks like more of just a good old-fashioned rain. Could see some flooding out of that, so definitely, have that thought in the back of your head. Now, as we go through tonight, again, expect those storms to continue to fire off before we get a bit of a lull in the early morning hours tomorrow, outside of rain here right along the boundary itself from Indiana all the way through Boston, having the greatest chance of seeing that rain tomorrow morning. Now, it's tomorrow afternoon that we have another chance of those storms firing up, becoming strong to severe anywhere, again, from the Gulf Coast all the way up through Boston, really having that chance. And again, main threats would be strong straight line winds as these move kind of west to east across the I-95 corridor tomorrow afternoon. Now, luckily, that storm system moves out by the time we get into Wednesday, and behind it, we will see much drier air. But it's Wednesday afternoon. We then have to watch out for that storm threat back out here towards Minnesota and Wisconsin, really seeing the highest threat there for our Wednesday, and that could even shift further east going into our Thursday and Friday. Now, again, right now with this cold front, it is August, so we are going to see some drier air behind that. Not quite much cooler temperatures, but definitely cooler in the coming days. But really, this drier air is what's going to make it feel much nicer than the temperature swing. So again, here's that cold front sagging through Oklahoma and Arkansas currently. As we move this ahead and through the next couple of days, you'll notice those dew points come crashing down as we get into our Tuesday afternoon. Widespread dew points only getting up into the lower 60s for places like Arkansas, Missouri, Texas. If you're living kind of from Dallas back towards Austin, it's going to feel really nice as you get much more of that desert southwest air to move in compared to that Gulf of Mexico air, all thanks to this cold front. Now, for places further east, especially east of the Appalachian chain, it's going to be difficult to come across super, dry air, but there will definitely be some relief on the horizon for our Wednesday afternoon, especially into the higher terrains there. Before, after that, we'll likely see once again a return to the heat and humidity going into this weekend. All right, so again, the storm system we're dealing with right now isn't the only storm system we're going to have to deal with. We're going to get another trough to dig southward into the lower 48 starting Wednesday and really amplifying into our Thursday and Friday. So looking at, our Wednesday afternoon and evening here, you'll notice this trough digging down into the lower 48, all of that accompanied by this very strong low pressure system that really could kick up the winds as well. So you'll notice this trough moves on through. This is Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon, so we could see a bit of a cool down as well as some severe weather chances increasing with this trough through the northern tier of the country from Minnesota back towards Maine and potentially as far south as the Ohio River Valley for our Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But what happens after that is what you're really not going to want to hear, and that is the heat building in. So again, at least I know I'm tired of the summer heat. Maybe you are not quite as tired. Maybe you enjoy the heat. So if that's the case, congratulations, here you go. We're going to have a lot of it going into this weekend and early next week. And really the easy way to see that on this map is this very strong high pressure that is really just dominating the pattern, or ridging is another thing you might hear here in the world of meteorology with this system, really smack dab in the middle of the country. So what we're going to see from that, or the side effects, are going to be a very much higher chance of above average temperatures for everyone here really east of the Rockies, noted here by this map, as well as much drier air. So for those places that haven't seen a lot of rain already potentially back here in these kind of beige colors, it's only going to get worse here in the long run. So I know a lot of people in my comments have been telling me how dry it's been out there. Unfortunately, you're going to really want to enjoy any rain you get over the next couple of days as things really dry out over the 6 to 10 day period, and potentially even longer than that, really through much of the end of August. So definitely watching out for those folks and praying for those folks who are looking for some rain. All right, so that's going to be the severe weather, the flooding, as well as then followed by the heat wave and dry air. But again, that's not the only thing we have to talk about. It is August, so let's talk about the tropics now. We already have two areas to look at here in the Atlantic, wave 1 here and wave 2 behind it. Now, wave 1 is already out over the ocean. Wave 2 is still kind of working its way off of Africa. Now, out of both of these waves, I'd be a bit more concerned about wave 1, and I'll show you why here in a second, although wave 2, of course, we'll keep an eye on. Now, the other thing we're going to have to look at, and I'll also show you this here in a second, is a potential for wave 3 and 4 in the long run. So looks like going into early next week, we could get some energy getting into the Gulf of Mexico, and then later on, we could see a bit of a gyre down here in the Caribbean, which just means a big area of constant thunderstorms, and that could produce a tropical system as well. So really a pretty active pattern coming ahead here for us as we round out August. So showing this to you, I'm going to start off with our GFS ensembles. And again, this is wave 1 that we're seeing right here, just to help you kind of gauge. Wave 1 here, this is wave 2 coming off of Africa behind it. And then you'll notice wave 3 and 4 eventually here in the long run. So again, just kind of watch those areas in that order. So wave 1 here could potentially develop. Models aren't super high on this, at least the GFS model isn't, but wave 2 behind it looks very likely to develop here with our ensemble members. Now, the good news with wave 2 is that will likely move out to sea. But as that's moving out to sea, going into early next week, here's wave 3, you'll notice, in the Gulf of Mexico. And this is one I really think we should watch. We don't have a super high amount of ensemble support right now, but the Gulf of Mexico, quite frankly, is a powder keg just waiting for a spark at this point, with very above average sea surface temperatures. If we get any kind of system to move in here while dry air and wind shear is at a minimum, we could see explosive development with that. So definitely want to keep an eye on that as we go through the rest of August. Now, moving this ahead, that all moves on through, and then here is wave 4, or this gyre down here, potentially that could form in the Caribbean and then move northward, threatening the continental United States. Now, good news is that's pretty far out there, so we have some time to watch it. Now, as for our Euro ensemble members, which is another very trusty global model we have, again, pretty easy to see on here. Here's wave 1, wave 2 behind it, and the Euro, you'll notice, is a bit more bullish on wave 1. It has a lot more members looking at wave 1 here, and as we move this map ahead, it could bring wave 1 potentially into some populated areas and develop it into something. So Euro model, very easy to see the 3 waves I've been talking about here. This is going out into the start of next week. So this is next Monday. We could be looking at a tropical system here near the Lesser Antilles, another tropical system further out into the Atlantic, and potentially a wave or disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, things getting very interesting here going through August. And as I move this even further ahead, the Euro really becomes quite concerning here into August, with a very big cluster of strong tropical cyclones getting near the Bahamas there in the long run, as well as another storm system, again, way out to the Atlantic, and still more members also hinting at that idea of something in the Caribbean in the long run that could, bring some mischief. So we're definitely going to watch all that for you. I'll keep you updated. And of course, again, a great way to stay updated is by hitting that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and of course, like the video if you liked it. Now, with that said, again, have a very safe rest of your Monday and a safe week ahead, and come back tomorrow for another video. But until then, again, have a great one, and I will see you next time.